My friend, these are 5 things that most musicians do that make them kind of look like an amateur musician. Something that I didn't know about until I started playing out with groups that were not amateur musicians. So, long story short, I wanted to pass them on to you. Take them for what it's worth. It's just one idiot's approach to trying to explain music, and it's something else fun for the channel. If you dig this, thumbs up and subscribe. As far as things that amateurs do that professionals don't do, or at least intermediate to advanced, is amateurs don't talk about how good they are. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you're a musician and you start playing music, the things that differentiates a beginner and an amateur might have the skill set to be able to go like A major, B minor, G major, and be like writing a song. But by no means is that 3-chord progression that might stay that way through the whole song the best thing that's ever been written in music ever. And what I find in my experience is playing a lot of open mics and hosting a lot of workshops is everybody wants to feel like what they're writing is special. And the one thing that a professional will never do to an amateur is say, that's not good. I have never, not once, said to somebody who's playing just an A, B minor, and G, oh, you're doing it wrong. Those aren't in the circle, blah, blah, blah. Those chords aren't. Just, nobody cares, number one, what you're talking about. Number two, how dare you tell somebody who's new and learning an instrument something other than, great job, keep it up. That's the number one thing I notice about people who are amateurs and people who are musicians. Only an amateur would try to explain chords to somebody when they don't want to hear them. Second thing, being in tune. This one might be on another 5 mistakes that amateurs make, but the truth is most players aren't in tune. It is very hard to tune an instrument unless you have the right instrument. Number 1, live in the right temperature. Number 2, care for the instrument properly, which means it stays in tune. Know how to tune your strings onto which it stays in that precision. Now, these are all just things that I've noticed over a period of time learning and playing music, so I'll explain them to you. On a mandolin, when you tune your strings, if you give them different number of bounds or bindings, don't know what the word is. When it goes around there, if you do too many on a mandolin, it might make it rattle and reverberate. If you don't do enough, it might sound tinty. There is actually a perfect amount of raps that you could do on an individual instrument. On the E and the A, I generally pull back from here and do a rap and a half, giving about 1 good turn on here. On everything past there, the D, I pull back to at least the 2 to get 2 or 3 good turns. And then on the E and the B, I'll pull even all the way back to the 4 or 5, giving like 15 different turns. It might think it's a little crazy. I just don't want that E going loose, giving any slack. More importantly, when I do it and I string, I put it through all the way, pull back, and then I turn, unto which the strings go up and out through the headstock, meaning all of these, when I tune them, are always going to be the same. Every single time I tune, I'll hit something like the A, 440, and then I will play the A 440. And if it is flat or sharp, I will go below the note, and I will always come up until I hear those 2 wavelengths equalize. All the ways up. I never down tune to any note. By doing this, if I tune up to the note every single time I do it, by the 6th or 7th or 8th time of tuning the same set of strings, which last about 40, 50, 60 tunings for me, they always stay in tune better. The only string I have an issue with is the G string, and that's apparently what I play most of my melodic movements on, and I'm bending and diddly diddly whatever. So the thing that I've always noticed about amateur musicians is they don't take 2 seconds to tune, and the way that they tune is always with a tuner, and it's cattywampus. It's all over the place. So the one thing I can say is instruments like a guitar, not the mandos in 5, violin 5, but like ukulele, stuff like that, they're tuned in 4. So if you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you hear the first 4 notes of your scale, that means that this note, if done correctly, will be the name of the note above, open. Same thing on the A string. That's now a D. It should have the same tone. When you do D, E, F sharp, G, that should be the same as your G. G is the only string on the acoustic guitar that does not. It is tuned into a major 3rd, goes to a B, which should be the note above. And then lastly, you would revert back to the open 2, 4, 5, and that last note on the 5th of that secondary string, the B, will be the open E. If all of these are done, you should hear all those wavelengths pretty much working together quite well. So one thing that really is part of that 5 things that people do that are just the difference is learning how to tune. After you do your standard tuning of going up a fifth, try and do the fine tuning I was talking about. You are simply getting a harmonic on the 5th fret right above that metal fretting. When doing this, it should fall right into tune, and if not, you just go up a little bit. Hear how they should have the same exact tuning? See, I was a little flat there? That tells me that my E string was a little too fat. Now we're directly in tune. The whole idea behind this is it keeps you in tune. That means when you're playing music with other people, it's a lot easier. The third thing which really distinguishes amateur musicians from like intermediate to advanced musicians is knowing chords that are outside of chord progressions. Now, that might sound weird, but requiring one to play something like an A major, a B minor, and a G major kind of would require you to either know that there is no A major, B minor, G. G would be the minor 7th scale degree in the key of A. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. When we take that major 7th from the key of A and we get rid of that G and we give the dominant note, the G natural, that becomes the linear leading tone. Sounds exactly kind of like C sharp diminished, which goes into D. So the relativities of these chords move back and forth depending on what key signature you're in and what you want to do. Don't get me wrong, A major, B minor to G major is a great groove. Top of my head, Frank Zappa. I think it's called Heavy Duty Judy. It's a great groove. Other than that, the other thing that makes an amateur and like a musician who's been playing for more than 200 hours on an instrument is the gear onto which they use. Generally, beater guitars are what we use when we get into it. Very seldom do I see somebody who's like just started an instrument and has like a $20,000 guitar. I'm not talking about having the most pristine instrument, but I am talking about having something that keeps in tune. That means that when you're done playing it, you wipe it down with a rag, you put it back into its case, hopefully a hard shell case rather than a soft shell case. That means that you take care of your gear. From what I noticed about professional musicians, always is time for maintenance. Always, hand down. That is a big one in my book. Being able to take every single mic cable that I've ever had, wrapping it in the same way so it forms the same loop, tying it with the same string that's been on there for 2 decades, and making sure that that cable that I bought back in 1991 still works. Why? I paid for it. Why not take care of it? That is a big distinguisher between amateur musicians and somebody who's been playing their whole life. Oh, hey, bye. You earlier? You early? You right on time? Oh, well, let's do this. I guess the 5th one is knowing how to set a schedule and meet your own expectations. A lot of people have great ideas, but their expectations are way above their own mark. If you set yourself and your expectations down lower, there are things which make a lot more sense and they are easier to accomplish. Meaning, if you set your sights on 10 and you should be setting your sights on 6, maybe you're going to miss out on some of the really fun, good times because your expectations were way too high. If you lower those expectations, how do I do that? If you lower the expectations just a tiny bit, you will find yourself having more gratification with things you can accomplish. Those are 5 really big ones that I noticed that all beginner musicians have, and the end result is just being able to accept them and move on. Now, these are the ones that I've learned to accept. If it doesn't affect you, if it does, cool. Put it in the comment section. Thumbs up, subscribe if you like this kind of content, and if so, become a member and support my dream. Aloha.